Welcome back, Kansas City. Your Chiefs have gotten through 2/3 of this offseason, this preseason, getting ready for the 2021 regular season to come. We're going to talk about this game, what it means, who's in the top 100, and honestly, what has to happen from this point forward. It's going to be fun. Welcome to Monday's Locked On Chiefs.
It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Hey.
Howdy.
So we didn't do a post-game show, folks, because quite frankly, it's the preseason. We're going to be doing this for you post-game after all the regular season. So we're going to break it down, who's where, who's when. But a couple of interesting notes. Would you call it an accomplishment for two specific Chiefs?
I don't know that I call it an accomplishment, although both of them moved up. And I should have had this pulled up, and I apologize. Chris Jones, I think, is number 34 on the NFL Top 100. And Tyreek Hill is 15, maybe?
Either way, that's some good recognition. I think there's at least one or two still to come in this countdown.
Yeah, Travis Kelce is still not listed, and Patrick Mahomes is still not listed. So, yeah, Cheetah was 15 this year. He was 22 last year. Chris Jones was, I'm trying to think.
50-ish, right?
Yeah, last year, and this year he's 34. So, big move up for him. Can't say I blame him. He had a fantastic year, and honestly, with the way he's looked in the preseason, and that's really maybe what we should start talking about to begin with, is the way he's looked in the preseason. I'm not so sure he's not in the top 20 next year.
Yeah, I mean,
especially
it's just
with the move to the end.
Right. It is just the preseason, but I mean, he looks as comfortable. He looks now like I expected him to be at mid-season after playing the majority of his snaps at end.
Yeah. He looks ready to go, and I think that's going to be a great thing for Kansas City. I'm hoping that they can get Frank Clark back. And if he can just be a little above average or, even close to what he was in the playoffs, that would be fantastic for Kansas City, and they'd be in great shape.
Yeah, I mean, with that dynamic duo and what we saw from the guys that are filling in at the tackle spots, I mean, they're not even up to full speed.
I was going to say, we haven't even seen Derek Nottie yet this preseason. So, that's encouraging because, he's not a pass rusher, but he's fantastic at stopping the run. So that's really going to help at different times as well.
Well, and around the league, to have them start to get recognized, not as a team that put together a great run in 19, but individual players outside of Mahomes that are that elite. I expect Travis and he to both be in the top 5, if anything, or if everything's right in the world. We'll see. But that also goes with a grain of salt. This is as much a popularity contest as is everything else.
Yeah, and I don't know that Travis will be in the top 5. I think he could be in the top 5. I'm just not sure that they'll put him that high. Generally, I would think that Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, and Mahomes are going to take up 3 of those spots. Aaron Donald's going to be up there. So I would see Travis in the top 10 easy. But and obviously, because they've done all the way to 11, they've done the countdown. So he's going to be in the top 10. I just don't know where.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure how they were releasing, if they're going to cut that into 5s here as they get down the stretch.
Yeah, and honestly, that's the other thing is you start talking about how they're going to get down to, we need to start talking about the roster because there's 5 more positions that are going to need to be cut this week by Tuesday to get down to the 80-man roster, I guess is what it's going to be for the next week. And then they'll have one more game. And after that game, then they have to cut down to 53. And we might have a bonus episode for you around that time because usually when we find out all the cuts, we kind of need to talk about
we got to go over them. It's not like clockwork. There is another game coming up on Friday night. Then we'll hear what Andy confirms. I was happy to see that he largely stuck to his script. Mahomes did not play the entire half, and I think that's good. I was glad to see Henny get a couple goes with the first-team offensive line, and happy to see them get extended time. That's just the generalities of this game. We'll get into the details in a little bit, but just in terms of game flow, how were you happy with this second preseason game?
Honestly, I was really happy about it. I think that, Kansas City being 2-0, and, I've said before, I don't really care if they win or lose, but the first team offense looked good for the most part. I do think that there are some things that they need to work on. We did find out that Tyreek Hill has a little bit of a hamstring injury, or little tightness in the hamstring, so they decided to sit him, which I think is a smart idea. There's no reason to play him. And that actually gave McCole Hardman a chance to run as the number 1 wide receiver. And you saw how that ended up. He struggled at times. Now, don't get me wrong. He had a great catch in the end zone from Henne. It was a great adjustment for him, great adjustment with his hands, and way to get his butt down in the playing field. But he just was not on the same page with Mahomes.
Yeah, it seemed to come and go. And I think that is going to be the key thing to kind of stack what else happens at the pass catching positions. And I think when we get back, we'll get into that, because I got to tell you that it is football time, and it is time to lay your bets down at betonline.ag. It's your number 1 spot for pro and college football action this season. You can get all the updated odds, props, and contests, and including their newest thing, the online's biggest $500,000 NFL mega contest and the world's largest 200,000 NFL survivor contest. They're all open now over at betonline.ag. That's a lot of dough flying around. Head over to their website, check it out, whatever device you want, and you get 100% welcome bonus now. 100%. That is hard to beat. Be sure you take advantage of the opening day super promo. Make a bet on Thursday, September 9th for those games. For that game. And if you lose, your wager's refunded. No worries. It's for new customers only when you're signing up, but it's over at betonline.ag, the fastest, easiest way to bet all of your favorite sports. Specifically this one, the only one that really matters. So check out it on, right? Like, I'm not going to go into all the others. Sorry, guys. I'm not reading it that way. Betonline.ag, your online sportsbook experts. So
I'm glad you brought up pass catchers.
Mm-hmm.
I really do think, and this is, I know you want to talk about wide receivers, and we'll get there in a second. I really want to talk about something else really quick. If you haven't already and you're not subscribed to Seth Kaiser's Substack, you need to subscribe to Seth Kaiser's Substack. He had a fantastic article about Jody Fortson. And while I will say, there you go. Appreciate that. While I will say it was against 3rd and 4th stringers, the technique is there for him blocking. Him not being on the roster this year doesn't make sense to me. If they cut him, they're going to lose him, in my opinion. He's done too much. That one-handed catch alone, I think will give somebody the option of at least giving him a chance to play.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he doesn't have to be a starting tight end anywhere, but in Kansas City, he would be at best probably the number 3. Maybe he could roll into the number 2 if Gray is not up to par early on in the season. But generally speaking, he's going to be the number 3. So I hope that he's able to make it. I do think that he showed enough blocking, and that's really what we questioned the entire offseason is, was he going to be able to do that? He showed it. I specifically watched those snaps. I thought he showed enough when it came to the blocking.
Yeah, I mean, there's a level of competition issue there.
Yep.
He's got to do it against starters, and he's not until he gets that opportunity. We won't know for certain, but I'm with you. I think he has earned enough plus blocking ability to get those shots. I don't know if that's going to happen in this next game. I would love to see him get some first half reps with the ones as just a fill-in. I felt like Noah Gray played more snaps in the second half than the first, and so maybe there's room for that. I'm not sure. They played a lot of Blake Bell early last week.
I'm just really surprised because it seems like Fortson was playing with the ones in training camp, but they haven't given him any time with Patrick in preseason games. So you have to wonder if they're trying to make it to where they think they can keep him on the practice squad. I hope that that's not what they're doing. And I guess really when it comes to the blocking for me, I agree there is a level of competition issue. But to me, he had the technique, which was the most important. If you can have the technique, you can get to a point where you can get to a better level of competition in that regard, in my opinion. It's the want to, and he definitely had the want to.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, effort is not 80% of blocking.
Yep.
The other 40% is technique. That's out of the way.
There's Ryan with this great math. So
yeah, well, you depending on the coach, you're going to get different percentages, but it is important. And I think that I still don't like the idea of keeping 4, but I will say it again to anyone who will listen. I don't think Blake Bell gives you anything that's worth keeping that an offensive lineman in a 6-man role gives you.
Right.
And I think Jody showed more upside in the pass game. So I don't know. It's going to be tough. But before I forget, I also want to give you guys this. There is an announcement. They're going to make an announcement about the winner of Therese Paylor's scholarship fund. If you want to still get in on that, you can do that here at giving.howard.edu/give now. You got to make sure you put in there that's the foundation for Therese Paylor, though. It's like a form that you fill out. but I wanted to get you that. And if you just want to support them as well, you can hit over here to Breaking Tea and pick up those all juice items. I think that's really worth it. But
yep, and by all means, thank you very much for anybody that's contributed to that. We really
Absolutely.
do appreciate it. Miss Trails every day.
All the time. And anybody you talk to in sports radio, not even in Kansas City, you will hear about him. And I think Jody Fortune is a guy that he would enjoy seeing this evolution of his juice. You know what I mean?
Could you imagine how he would have gone off on that one-handed catch?
Right.
I mean, if you were actually in the stadium with him when he saw that one-handed catch, he would have been electric about that.
Yeah.
And to me, that was just part of what made Therese so special. And like I said, miss him every day. I miss being able to read his stuff, miss being able to listen to him, miss being able to talk to him. Great guy, and please go support his scholarship fund. And if you want a T-shirt, go get it at Breaking Tea. So we do appreciate that as well. And the last thing I'll say on the Fortson issue is the question I have, and this is something that we'll have to talk about later, is how many are they going to keep at every position? Because if they only keep 3 running backs, maybe you can't keep 4 tight ends. The problem is you have so many linemen you're going to keep. That's the problem.
Yeah, and it does depend on how many are healthy, although it's a complication with Long and LDT right now because you either have to put him on IR and lose him for the season if you do it beforehand. Long is eligible for the PUP. LDT is not.
Right.
So he has to make it on.
Right. And I do think that Long is going to be on the PUP. I do think that that's going to be their move there. I don't think he's going to be active for the first 6 weeks. And LDT is a little bit of a complication. You're right. If he's going to be on IR, they have to have him on the roster. So that's going to complicate things as well. And
unfortunately, that complication might cost him somebody like Darius Fountain, who I think should be on his 53 now. I think he showed it even more in this second.
I'm glad you brought him up. That long ball catch that he had was a thing of beauty. And honestly, that's not his game.
Exactly.
That's what impressed me the most about it. Is like he is more of a bigger possession type wide receiver, and that 40-yard pass that he caught was fantastic. He burnt his guy because of the route he ran, and that's why running your routes the cleanest you can is going to be the biggest way you can get open, and he showed it there. And yes, there's a level of competition issue, but he was still in with that was against mostly the 2s, I believe, at that point, so it wasn't a big thing, and he got snaps with the 1s.
Yeah,
and people want to argue that it wasn't the 1s because Chad Henne was in. Well, guess what? The rest of the first string offense, other than Tyreek Hill, was in.
Right, and I think that's an important distinction. Now, clearly, he has a connection with Henne, but you can say whatever you want about everybody else. I thought Byron Pringle showed out pretty well.
Oh, dude, that catch across the middle,
right,
and being able to just hold on to it, yeah.
And I think that clears things up. Marcus Kemp had a big catch as well. And I think we all know what his special teams capability is. So to me, they're rounding out the top 6. I don't, nothing against Shepard, maybe doing returns, but I don't think that works. So for me, it's about who plays in what position. And for the love of me, I don't know why DeMarcus Robinson cannot tuck the ball in.
God, I was going to ask you how you felt about that. Did you enjoy the loaf of bread, the multiple times the loaf of bread?
I mean, does he keep in touch with Shady? Is it like off-season training? Like, I don't know. I don't get it.
At some point, it's going to cost this team. And that's the unfortunate thing is that at some point, it's going to cost the team because it's going to happen that it's going to get knocked out of his hands. And honestly, I don't understand why you have him returning kicks either.
I think that was just to save reps for other guys.
Maybe. But they've done it in the regular season.
Yeah.
And was it even the playoffs last year? I can't remember if it was the playoffs or not, but man, it's frustrating to watch him as a kick returner because he doesn't go north and south. He goes side to side, and then he sometimes goes south. And so that's a little frustrating. You start talking about the wide receivers. There are lots of guys that are hungry for reps there. And one of them, like you said, Byron Pringle, I think he did a fantastic job in that game. And when you're talking about being hungry for something, if you haven't checked out our friends over at Built Bar, you need to.
That was nice.
Yeah, go ahead and bring that out, sir. And you got one upside down, but that's fine.
Yeah, well.
Yeah. What's your favorite Built Bar flavor, Ryan? Do you know?
Right now it's this English toffee.
Okay.
But the coconut brownie chunk has been one of my favorites overall.
Yeah, God, I wish they'd bring that back. Built, if you're listening, please bring that back. They have 9 regular delicious flavors: coconut, almond, cherry, raspberry, mint brownie, peanut butter brownie, double chocolate, and salted caramel. So there's something there for everyone. Right now, my favorite flavor is salted caramel. Obviously, I do love the coconut brownie chunk. I wish they'd bring that back. If you haven't tried all the flavors, you can get a mixed box where you get 2 of each of the 9 flavors. Not only are Built Bar flavors the best tasting, but they're healthy too. Most of the flavors have between 17 and 18 grams of protein, between 130 and 180 calories, and just 4 to 5 grams of sugar and 4 to 5 grams of net carbs. 9 amazing flavors, all tasty, all healthy. Order today and get that raspberry or mint brownie or whatever you like. Go to built.com and use promo code LOCK15. You'll get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at built.com.
It's not the only thing that helps. It's good to have nutrition. It's good to have everything that you need, and sometimes what you need is other parts so that you can get back and forth and to the stadium, to the tailgate. If you need that special adapter for your hitch so you can get the Titan, the big old slide-in camper Titan, so you can put your smoker on the back of your vehicle, you can do that at rockauto.com. They have everything that you need over there. 50%, 100% off. And it doesn't matter if you're do-it-yourselfer or if you do this for a living and you need parts just for you. It doesn't matter. They're a family business, and they've been doing it for 20 years. They'll take care of you, and their prices are reliably low for absolutely everyone. Go to rockauto.com, check them out, put everything into your cart, and in that "How did you hear about us" slot, write in "Locked On" so they know that we sent you. Rock Auto is where you need to go for everything you need for your car or truck. Amazing selection of reliably low prices and all the parts your car or truck will ever need. Check out rockauto.com. Parts are getting harder to find on the Chiefs defense, though, because it feels like things are becoming more clear to me. How do you feel about them?
I would agree. I think we know who the top 3 corners are. I don't think Baker's one of them. I think Hughes is settled in there, and I think he's taken that job. And actually, that kind of excites me a little bit because look at what they were able to do. And this is the thing that Brett Veach does so well. And this is kind of why I go back to what I said before about different players. And I know a lot of people said, don't go get Josh Rosen. I get it. Mm-hmm. But this is what Veach does. He goes and gets guys that other teams don't seem to want anymore. And honestly, I think Hughes has looked very good. And, there are people out there, Nate Taylor, he said it. I think Matt Derrick said it, that Hughes is their best punt returner.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty large.
And he's not the fastest guy either. It's not about blazing speed. It's about being able to see the field and make your way through.
Yep, it's your vision, and that can be huge if he can play and he can play consistently. That really helps Kansas City throughout this entire season. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he's able to translate and he's able to continue to put together the strong performance he's had so far. Baker, I thought, still looked good, but he's clearly behind Hughes at this point in my mind. And then you start looking at the other guys. Fenton didn't even play because he had some kind of injury, and I apologize, I can't remember what it was. And then, you have other guys that are still there for corners. What are they going to do with Boodle? Zane Anderson got time with the ones. Yeah. Right. That was surprising to me. I'm not exactly sure what to think of that because I'll have to go back and watch preseason game number 1. I didn't see it. With Zane Anderson is, I guess, really what I'm saying. I don't
think he played.
Oh,
definitely not in the first half.
No, he didn't in the first half. He played in the second half. I remember him playing in the second half, but I didn't see it with that level of competition. So maybe it was something they saw at practice. Maybe it was something in the game. I don't know.
It was interesting because he was the big surprise on Monday after the first preseason game, the first day that I was there. And now that I'm looking at the list, he played the most snaps of any safety, tied with Juan Thornhill. So that's a long look.
Oh, and speaking of Juan Thornhill, Obi-Wan,
right?
What an interception, man.
Right?
That was a great play.
It was. And I don't know what's holding him back or what has been holding him back. He says he's 100% back now. I can only hope so because that looked good.
Yeah. Somebody said that he's still dealing with a groin injury or he's coming back from a groin injury. And I do remember hearing that, but I wouldn't think that would have kept him into the third string reps. If anything, that would keep you off the field, not playing with the third stringers. So that really doesn't seem to make sense to me, but it is what it is. And I don't think he's getting cut. I did have somebody ask me that. I do have to ask you this though. Is it possible, and I know we're talking defense, but is it possible DeMarcus Robinson is a surprise cut this year?
Nope.
I wouldn't think so either.
Not even close. It doesn't matter what any of us outside the building think. They love him. He is, and it's not just his athletic ability. He connects with Mahomes. He's a positive dude. He's a great locker room presence. Like, he fits what they want to be, and he can make plays. Does he do it consistently enough? No. Does he do it in a way that makes me cringe a lot of times? Yes.
Yep.
But this team loves him. He's not going anywhere.
Yep. I agree with that sentiment. I just had people asking, so
Yeah.
thought I would bring it up.
Unfortunately, it looks like Devin Key has been demoted rather steeply. He's looking like a practice squad candidate to me right now.
Yeah.
Don't know about Will Parks in that mix.
And
or
honestly,
Amani Watts.
Key got burned again.
Yeah.
That was sad to see. I was really impressed with what I had heard about him at camp, and then seeing him in preseason games. We haven't seen it. And obviously I didn't go to camp this year, so I didn't see it there. But, you would have to think that after the preseason he's had, he is a practice squad candidate, and I don't think that they would lose him if they cut him. Which, honestly, with the way it sounded, if he would have just played decently, would have been a possibility that they would have lost him if they would have cut him. But with the way he's been burnt a couple of times now, I think that's probably a safe thing that they're going to do, is that they'll cut him.
And let's keep in mind, I'm not counting Rashad Fenton out from being the third. I don't think he's there because I think he's better in the nickel, and the team thinks he's better in the nickel. And I don't know that they want to leave L'Jarius out on the outside all the time. So right now I am leaning towards Hughes being the guy that plays, third most reps. But don't count him out. But the other thing that I will say is tomorrow when they practice, I believe Coach Reed will speak, and I think they're going to get a couple of players. If we hear from the beat reporters that Zane Anderson is not getting reps with the one all of a sudden, then that means that they understand what they have in Will Parks and Armani Watts, who they've got a lot of experience. And they understand with Juan and Tyron, right? And so they use Key in the first week to get a look. They use Anderson in the second week to get a look. Maybe they promote someone else. Maybe it goes back to Juan being in there all the time. But I think this next practice is going to be key to giving us a clue as to what's going to happen not only in the third preseason game, but in week 1 of the regular season.
Yeah, and I really am wondering what Reed's going to do. Is he going to stick with what he said he was going to do going into this game? Are the starters really going to play as long as he said they were going to play? I have a hard time believing that. But, honestly, it goes back to what I said before. If you would have had 4 preseason games, you would have been doing it. So I don't understand why you wouldn't do it now, because you have the same amount of time off. That's my big thing is the time off is the thing that's not changing. You don't have a chance of, I guess you have a chance of getting them dinged in the last preseason game, and that would suck. But
yeah, oof.
But really, football is a hard sport, and how much did your heart jump into your chest or jump into your throat? Sorry, when Mahomes was running the ball.
Yeah, Mitch Schwartz told me I'm wrong, that he should not have stepped up and delivered that ball. I wanted him to take a step or two and just heave it and get it out of his hand. I don't want him running in the preseason, but I will defer to Mitch Schwartz because Mitch knows all about offensive line play and the pocket in particular, and I do not. But I'm just saying, Patrick, just throw it away and end the play, please. Do not run around.
Especially the preseason.
Yeah, I mean, just
If you want to do that in the fourth quarter of a regular season game, okay.
Yeah, I'm just no.
Yeah.
I just throw in the dirt. I don't care. An incompletion in the preseason is meaningless.
Well, and then to run the ball and not slide, that's what drove me nuts the most.
Yeah.
I mean, I get you're going to take hits, but man.
Yeah.
Kudos to him. He's a tough guy, and great. I'm happy about that. You start looking at the rest of this team, and obviously you have those other guys. You have guys that will do that as well. And when you have your general out there doing that for you, that makes you want to play just a little bit harder. So I get it. It'll be very interesting to see how this turns out this week with Mahomes, because he wanted to go back into that game.
Yeah.
He wants to play.
Yeah.
Which I will say, that's one other thing I want to talk about before we close. Did you hear the pregame interview with Kyler Murray, or did you hear what they were talking about Kyler Murray?
Mm-mm.
Kyler said he wanted to get in, get a score, and be done. He didn't want to play because the game didn't matter. I'm not trying to read too much into that, but Mahomes wants to play every snap.
Yeah.
Which would you rather have?
There's a different kind of competitiveness with 1 p.m. 15.
Yeah. That's all I'm saying. I just, I get it. It doesn't matter. I get it from that perspective, but honestly, the first string defense shut the Cardinals down. So
yeah. I don't know if that's more of a reflection of the defense, who I thought played very well, or the Cardinals offense. We'll see. No Larry Fitz. Suspect run game.
Hopkins.
I mean, a lot of missing. So,
right. But still 3 and out is 3 and out. I mean, and then they do 3 and outs at the start of the game. I mean, that's impressive against an offense that should be pretty good. And I know you're missing your key pieces there, but Kyler didn't look great. He never looked really comfortable to me, in my opinion. So, and I think that was part of the pass rush getting there. And Chris Jones is going to be a monster this season. There's nothing else that I can say about that.
Yeah, there's nothing can even top that. I mean, it's gonna be ugly for opposing teams.
I just have to say this as my last thing. Tommy Townsend, please figure it out. You did fantastic in preseason game number 1. Just to completely let the team down in preseason game number 2. I don't get it. You have this huge leg. You have the entire length of the field you can punt, and you punt at 38 yards.
Yeah, well, nobody's perfect.
I know, but when you're doing 60 the week before, it's just like, come on. So,
I mean, realistically, he has to do this once or twice a game.
Yeah.
He's going to be fine.
Yeah, I understand. I wish that he could be a little bit more consistent. Like, I don't care if you don't kick at 60 normally, but if you could at least do 45 every time, and that's your low, I'd be good with that.
Trust Tommy, he'll be fine.
Okay. You trust that hair? Go right ahead.
Hey, the hair doesn't have nothing to do with it. Cut it off, see what happens. It'll be fine. All right, folks. We hope that you enjoyed this game and our look at it today. We'll be back with you tomorrow as they get ready for the final preseason game and what will be make or break for a number of players. We'll have Derek back this week, and we'll get into maybe some prognostications, and then look for our 53 coming at you next week. We hope that you have a great one. We'll talk to you tomorrow.